Welcome to today's lesson, and we are going to learn some idioms for everyday conversation. And this is a quiz lesson, so I want you to participate. Write your answers in the chat or in the comments if you're watching this later. And if you are someone who likes building your vocabulary and learning idioms to just improve your speaking fluency, please hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, then I can become your teacher. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Wes. The channel is Interactive English. It's all about trying to help you reach your fluency goals. And the other thing, before we start this little quiz, if you would like to download and get access to the lesson notes that you see right here, you can join our community, and there is a link down below in the description. If that is something that you're interested in, I'll send you lesson updates, new course information, as well as just some useful resources from time to time. I'll go ahead and throw that down there in the chat, but check out that link down in the description. If you are already a part of our email community, then just check your inbox. I have already sent them to you, or they should be arriving soon. Now, as we go through the lesson, I see so many familiar faces in the chat, which is great. I am going to try to give some shout outs here and there as we go through this. But let's go ahead and start with the first one. And I'm trying to make it a little easier. So in this case, I'm giving you part of the idiom. You can see it bolded right there, but there's just one word missing. So I want you to complete the idiom. Which word is missing? I can't believe she said that. It was really below the So you can see what's bolded there below the What word is missing? How would you complete that idiom? And then we'll talk about the meaning so that you have a better understanding. But the key word in there, I think, is that first sentence as far as trying to figure out the meaning. Something was said. This person can't believe it. They were surprised. Maybe they were offended. And you could say, wow, that was really below the... The correct answer is below the belt. Nice, Ricardo, Juliet, Alal, perfect. This is a remark that is really insulting or unfair. And if you want to say that, it was not necessary, it was uncalled for, that was an unfair remark, you could say, yeah, that was just below the belt. It wasn't the right thing to do. It was just too insulting. It was below the belt. Excellent. And the next one, and again, my goal is, as we go through these, I think they'll get a little more difficult, but I just hope that you learn a few new idioms. That would be the goal. So you can see this picture right here, somebody cleaning the carpet, and let's pretend that I am telling this person, hey, you can get that stain out, but you may need to give it a little grease. So this is a phrase. It's an idiom, and we're talking about grease. 2 words. So what adjective would come before the noun grease? And then we'll talk a little bit about the meaning. So you can get that stain out, but you may need to give it a little grease. And as I see, you guys are rocking this. You guys are on fire today. We're talking about elbow grease. Nice. Lolly, Angela, perfect. Yama, elbow grease. It's a lot of physical effort, especially when cleaning. Now, there are other situations that you could use this in talking about elbow grease apart from cleaning. Maybe you're trying to fix something and you really just have to give it a lot of physical effort to, turn this so that you can tighten the screw. You got to give it a little elbow grease. This is again, useful phrase when talking about that you just got to work a little harder and give it a little elbow grease. I would even say that is a bit of a collocation with this phrase, to give something a little elbow grease. Well done. The next one, and this is maybe it's a little bit too much of a hint with the picture there. If you notice or you can recognize these different people. I think also the sentence will also give it away. And another one gone, and another one gone, another one bites the. And I'm trying not to sing it because you may recognize those four people. They're from the famous music group Queen. And this is a song, and this is part of the song. And another one gone, and another one gone, another one bites the what? And then we'll talk about what it means. So I think this is one that you've probably have heard. This is a very well-known song. I imagine you've heard this song possibly in a movie or TV show. And I see some really great answers in there. Another one bites the dust. That is the noun we were looking for. Excellent, Suma, Ricardo. Another one bites the dust. It has different meanings. I can talk about in the song, but bite the dust. It could mean to fall. So if you fall off your bike and you say, "Yeah, I fell off my bike yesterday and I really bit the dust," it would just mean to fall. It could mean something comes to an end. If I'm talking about somebody's career, they say something stupid and they get fired, and I say, well, yeah, their career really bit the dust and it came to an end. Or it could mean to be killed. And in this sense, I imagine that in the song they're talking about bullets flying and people hit the ground and another one bites the dust. So it could be like killed, or even in this case, somebody's falling. But if you say something, it would be a euphemism in this case. And I would say that if you're talking about another person, another human, it would sound a bit cold and callous to say somebody bit the dust. If you're going to use this to refer to something being killed, maybe you could use it talking about an insect or a spider or something, a mosquito. This mosquito bit you and you smacked it your arm and it bit the dust. So I feel like if you're going to use this to talk about being killed, keep that in mind. I don't think it's often used to refer to other people in that context. The next one, this one I think is maybe a little more difficult. At least every time I say that, that's when I see all the correct answers. Everybody's like boom, 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 boom. For now, let's put a in it. We'll come back to your idea later. So hopefully, just hearing the sentence, it can jog your memory as to, okay, I think this is the idiom. I've bolded it for you. Put a in it. And the second part of the sentence would be a little bit of a hint as far as the meaning is concerned. For now, let's put a in it. We'll come back to your idea later on. Which noun are you going to complete this idiom? I see some answers. No, not a table, even though, okay, well, I'll talk about that. I'm going to put a sock in it. If somebody tells you put a sock in it, it's kind of like telling you, hey, be quiet. Don't say anything. Or like, shut up. I haven't seen it. Again, everybody just try to think about it. Throw your answers. Don't worry if you make a mistake. This is all about practicing. It's interactive English. I want you to participate in the lesson. Not put a lid in it. A lid would technically go on something. But for now, let's put a in it. We'll come back to your idea later on. And the key part of this, as far as trying to figure out the meaning, would be to come back to something. So in this case, it's not like you're upset. It's like, okay, we're not going to talk about this now. We'll come back to it. I haven't seen it, so all right, maybe this one. Oh, Armelinda, you nailed it. Put a pin in it. For now, let's put a pin in it. We'll come back to your idea later on. So to put a pin in it or this, generally what happens is you're talking about something, and that's why you're going to use it or this and say, okay, let's put a pin in it, and maybe then we'll come back to it later on. You're taking a break from discussing some topic, and you're going to resume later. So you would put a pin in it. Now, I said I'd come back to the word table because that is another idiom, to table something. And you could say something similar, like, for now, let's table this discussion and we'll come back to your idea later on. It would have a similar meaning. So to table something is to put it off and deal with it later, talk about it later, and to put a pin in it or put a pin in this. We're going to take a break from discussing something and then we will come back to it later on. Put a pin in it. All right, then maybe this one's new. That's good. I love it. I like it when, if this is new, you can let me know, hit that like button. And that'll tell me, okay, I should do more idiom lessons so that you can continue to build your informal vocabulary, because these are phrases that you're likely going to hear in spoken English. Now I'm going to switch gears. And this time I'm giving you a picture and I just want you to try to guess the idiom. And I will give you a hint because I'll show you the meaning in just a moment and then I'll tell you the idiom. But can you use this picture? Think about what's going on and what idiom could it possibly be? You see this it looks like it has to do with fishing. And I think once you see, this is a little more challenging. I think once you see the answer, then it'll definitely make sense. But let me go ahead and give you the meaning. And we're talking about when you are free from blame or from an annoying obligation. I see some people like fish out of water. That's a good guess. That is another expression. If somebody feels like a fish out of water, though, it means they feel uncomfortable in some new or different environment. So we're talking about a different meaning here. If you're free from blame or from an annoying obligation, you are close. Ricardo and some other ones. Gifty, excellent. Yes. Angela, you are off the hook. To be off the hook. I saw some with get. I wouldn't use it with get off the hook. Typically, you're going to hear people use this with the verb to be and say somebody is off the hook. If you are supposed to go with me to some party and maybe you don't want to go and I say, okay, look, you don't have to go with me. You're off the hook. You're free from this annoying obligation. You're off the hook. Or again, if somebody's not going to get blamed for something, it's like, okay, yeah, you're off the hook, or you're not going to get punished for this thing. All right, let's keep going. Here we go. The next one. This is definitely, I think, a little more challenging. Looking at this picture, what do you think? Can you guess what idiom? What's happening? You see this foot. These people standing on this white line. What would you say? I will give you the meaning and hopefully it may make it a little easier. To do what you are expected to do without causing trouble for anyone. To do what you're expected to do without causing trouble for anyone. That is the meaning of this idiom. And in this case, you are trying to do what? And now I think, again, you're able to look at the picture and come up with the correct answer, which is to toe the line. Well done, Yama, Suma, nice. To toe the line means that you're doing what you're expected to do without causing trouble for anyone. I think of situations like somebody might be in at work and you're trying to follow orders even though maybe you don't disagree with what you're supposed to do, and you're just like, okay, look, I'm just trying to toe the line. I'm going to do what's expected of me. I don't want to cause any trouble. I'm just trying to toe the line. Then we have I may need to give you a little more context with this. I just love the picture. It's a giraffe, obviously, but the word giraffe is not a part of the idiom. However, there is a body part that is part of the idiom, which is very relevant when talking about a giraffe, like this one. And I tried to find a picture that, I don't know, really makes it easier possibly to identify that body part. And let me give you the meaning because yeah, it's a little more difficult just looking at that picture. I just thought it was funny. To bravely say or do something that might be criticized or might turn out to be wrong. To bravely say or do something that might be criticized or might turn out to be wrong. What are you doing? And this is something you may do for another person. Trying to help another person, even though you might be criticized. You're trying to help another person, even though you might be wrong. And the key word, the word that I was talking about, the body part, is neck. Because I see that as a couple of answers. But what idiom that has the word neck has this meaning? So if somebody, I see is breathing down your neck, no, it's where somebody's looking over you, making sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Excellent, Lolly, you nailed it. We're talking about the idiom to stick your neck out. And if you're sticking your neck out, you're basically putting yourself out there to be criticized, and you might be wrong. And you may stick your neck out for another person, trying to help them. You're trying to stick up for this person, and you stick your neck out. And think about it as far as the meaning of what's going on. You stick your neck out. It's kind of a dangerous situation that you could have problems. You could get in trouble when you stick your neck out. The next one, another fun animal one, which maybe this one is a little easier than the giraffe one in sticking your neck out. There's definitely a body part that I think you can identify with this picture and then try to think about what idiom it is, especially when it means to be waiting eagerly to hear about something. So if you're waiting eagerly to hear about something, you could say this idiom. Often I feel like this idiom is used in response to someone who wants to tell you something like, oh, guess what happened? You couldn't believe what happened. Really, I want you to listen closely. And then you could tell this person what? And say this statement. Nice. Well done, Helen Eloisa. We're talking about to be all ears. And the statement that you would then say is, I'm all ears. If I have something really important to tell you, I say, oh, just listen, just hear what I have to say. Go, okay, I'm all ears. Tell me what's going on. I'm all ears. This part is going to be a little more challenging because now I'm giving you the meaning and I want you to tell me the idiom. And we're going to, again, walk through this slowly because I'll give you the meaning and then I'll show you the picture, which is kind of related to the idiom, and then I'll tell you what the answer is. So I've blurred out this first picture, even though maybe you can guess what it is. Perhaps I think it's easy because I know what the picture is before I blurt it out. But this idiom means to be well prepared or well organized for something that is going to happen. And those of you who have taken my Speak Up course, this is one that we've talked about before, previously. I feel like in the last couple of courses. I see some names, some people, Rafaela or Melinda, pressure's on. What idiom is this? You're well prepared or well organized for something that is going to happen. And a key word here, I believe, would be organized. So here is the picture. And I think now it probably would become a little easier. I already see a couple of answers in the comments there. Nice, yes. Sid, there's another name, I can't pronounce it, but yeah, you guys got it. Neil, we're talking about the idiom to get your ducks in a row, or you could use it with the verb have. Either one, to get your ducks in a row or have your ducks in a row, refers to being really well organized, well planned, and you have everything in order and you're just ready for what's going to happen in the future, and you're going to get your ducks in a row. Here's the next one, and I do think this one is a little more challenging. I think probably it's more common to hear an idiom like to get your ducks in a row, because we often have conversations about the need to be organized. This one's rather specific. We're talking about changing the rules while someone is trying to do something in order to make it more difficult for them. So if you have these rules or conditions that you're trying to follow, and then all of a sudden those rules or conditions are changed in order to make it more difficult to complete your task or do whatever it is that you need to do, you could say that this person or organization or institution keeps what? And that is the idiom. They're changing the rules or conditions. Here is the picture. I know it's blurred out, but you can see this like a soccer goal. And the word that would be a part of this is not necessarily the goal in its entirety, but what about the sides? What would you call those? Those would be the goalposts. And if you are going to move the goalpost, then that means you're changing the rules while someone is trying to do something in order to make it more difficult. So it's a little bit more of a descriptive idiom if you want to say, hey, I'm trying to do this, but this, my boss or my supervisor just keeps moving the goalpost. And they're changing the requirements or rules and making it a little more difficult. They're moving the goalpost, which is true if you're trying to score and somebody's moving the goalpost, it's going to make it more difficult to score as well. Here's this one. I think this is also a bit more challenging. I think this is maybe one that I would guess maybe it's one you've heard if you watch a lot of movies or TV shows in English. But once again, I'd say it's rather specific. And if it's new, then that's great. We're talking about to do something without worrying about the risk or negative results. You're doing something without worrying about the risk. You're not worrying about the negative results. What idiom am I talking about? And your hint, you see that sign right there, and it says, caution, high winds. So thinking about that sign, thinking about what it says, I think maybe now it possibly will become a little bit easier, especially if this is a phrase that you've heard. You're to do something without worrying about the risk or negative results. I see some answers. Yes. Great job, Julia, Ava. We're talking about to throw caution to the wind. When you throw caution to the wind, you're going to do something without worrying about the risk or negative results. Now, as far as the way you may have heard this being used, this is just my opinion. I feel like a lot of times it might be used kind of in the negative when you're telling someone, hey, don't take a risk. You should worry about the outcome and the results. Don't throw caution to the wind. So in that case, I'm kind of using it to say the opposite with the negative. Don't throw caution to the wind. Don't do anything without, you should worry about the risk or the negative results in that context. All right, here is another one that I think, even though I tried to blur it out, probably you can kind of see the picture, talk about what it is, to be directly involved in or affected by something, especially financially. You're involved in it, you're affected by this, you have some financial interest in this thing, you could say that you have what? And I gave you a little bit of a hint there by using the verb have. And here is the picture in case you're wondering. Maybe this picture is not going to help you too much, but there's a word, a specific word in there that is part of this idiom. And I'll go ahead and tell you the word. You can see this picture. We're talking about skin. This is a picture, somebody, their back, you can see their skin, and you're directly involved in or affected by something, especially financially, and you could say that you have skin in the game. To have skin in the game, it's an informal way of saying you are really involved in whatever it is, that you're going to be affected by this outcome. And like I said, financially would be like investing in some company. And you have skin in the game. If the company does well, then you're going to make money. If the company goes out of business, you're going to lose everything. And you have skin in the game. All right, so this is a review of the idioms. There are 12 idioms that we talked about in this lesson. You can see all of them right here. This is a way to build your vocabulary, improve your speaking fluency. Right now, let's just quickly go through and do a little bit of review just to remind you of the meaning one more time. So if we say that something is below the belt, it's referring to something that was said. It was insulting, it was unfair, it was below the belt. If we talk about giving something a little elbow grease, we're talking about physical effort, and generally you would use this in the context of cleaning something, and you need to give it a little bit of elbow grease. To bite the dust, it has a few different meanings, but if you say someone or something bites the dust or bit the dust in the past tense, to fall or come to an end or to be killed. Then we have this one. We talked about putting a pin in it. Maybe this one was a little more challenging. If you put a pin in it, you're basically saying, well, like this would be more in the context of a conversation with another person or a group of people. You're sharing ideas, you're talking about something. Look, we'll come back to that later. For now, let's just put a pin in it. And then we'll resume discussing this later on. Off the hook means that you are free from blame or some annoying obligation. I gave you that example. You don't have to go to the party with me. I know you're busy. You don't want to go. You're off the hook. We also have this one, to toe the line, which again, I think is rather specific. You're just basically saying that you're trying to just do what's expected of you. You don't want to cause any trouble. You're trying to toe the line. The next one we talked about was to stick your neck out, to bravely say or do something in which you might be criticized or you might be wrong, and you're sticking your neck out, possibly to help someone else out, and you're sticking your neck out. Then we have to be all ears. I told you that mostly you might hear this sentence if somebody's asking you, hey, listen, I got to tell you something. And you just want to say, look, I'm all ears. I'm eagerly waiting to hear about what you have to say. I'm all ears. The next one, to have or get your ducks in a row. You just want to be prepared and well organized for something that may happen in the future. I think this one's useful and common, to have your ducks in a row. To move the goalpost, when you're changing the rules or conditions just to make something a little more difficult, and you're moving the goalpost. And I know we looked at these recently. To throw caution to the wind, you're just doing something without worrying about the risk or negative results. I mentioned that often you may end up using this in like the negative, saying, hey, don't throw caution to the wind. You should be careful. Don't throw caution to the wind. And the one that we just looked at, to have skin in the game, you're directly involved or affected by something, especially financially. So hopefully one or more of these idioms is new and you learn something new and you can listen for them if you're watching a TV show or movie. Of course, I want to know how you did, and I'm going to write this in the chat. You can tell me how you did on the quiz. I'm always interested. How did you do on the quiz? And you could say, I rocked it. And we'll do like a little emoji. 100. Okay. With a smile. Or I really need to do my homework. And we'll do some books there. Okay. So what do you think? All right. How do I start the poll? Not allowing me. Oh, maybe I have to. I didn't not get any correct. Maybe that is why, and then I can start it. No, it's not letting me start this poll for some reason. Okay, I apologize about that. Well, you can let me know in the comments how you did on this quiz lesson. And remember, if you want to get the lesson notes, check out the description down below. Once again, I'll go ahead and throw that in the chat right there. Thanks so much for joining me today. Rafaela, Lali, great to see you. Suma, Sid, everybody, thank you for joining and participating in the lesson. And I will be back soon for another lesson in the future. Have a great day.